I want you to know that contrast can be your friend. Contrast in your life, that is challenges and problems, does not mean you're failing, does not mean there's something wrong with your vibration. It does not mean you did something wrong. It does not mean that you have karma to pay. It does not mean you are unworthy. It simply means you're a human being living in a world that includes contrast. Yes, this universe is full of contrast, yet contrast can be your friend. It can stimulate you to new heights, and a lot of it will depend on you making that decision. Contrast is my friend. I just had to share some key excerpts from this Contrast to Joy webinar series we just did because it was so effective. By the second of 3 sessions, most people had already forgotten all about the contrasts that were such a problem before they came to the webinar. So enjoy these few key concepts from Contrast to Joy and look out for the next webinar series. Maybe you'll want to attend. Enjoy. By saying we can live in ease and flow, I wanted you to understand very clearly that there's contrast in my life. Stuff breaks. Trees fall down. The front door broke. The water heater broke recently, and it got some mold in the basement. Scott fixed it, but stuff happens. The way we deal with it, there may be some immediate stress, and still things always work out for me, that mantra. And it's how you deal with it. See, sometimes people came to the spiritual path trying to get rid of all pain, all contrast, and find this perfect life where nothing ever goes wrong and you never have to feel anything on the bottom of the instrument panel again. And that's not what ease and flow is. Ease and flow is that even with all of that, we have a happy life. Someone mentioned to me, Danielle in New Zealand was having her 5th session in the mentoring program, but she was marveling at how, even though some big, deep vibrations arose for her recently, how since divine openings, she's been living this happy life, even though there were some big things unresolved. She was going, it's so amazing. I've manifested so much. She's a master manifester. Man, she manifests dream jobs like crazy, and she's doing it again. She's been a long haul international flight attendant, real high level, go to exotic places. She was a private flight attendant for Warren Buffett. She had an exotic job in Africa that she shouldn't have been able to even get. Now she's a forest ranger and she's thinking of buying this business. I mean, she just manifests these things quite effortlessly, and did that all along, even though everything wasn't perfect, even though all her low vibrations had not left yet, all in good timing. She was marveling how great a life you can have while not having reached any kind of perfection. Abuse and rage had recently arisen, so much that her boyfriend noticed it. And now she's moved that. So overall, here's what I'm saying. Don't seek perfection. Seek ease in the now with what is right now. Don't seek escape from contrast. Seek ways to move through it and flow with it and benefit from it. Beyond, let's endure this. Let's let it stimulate us to a next level. I love what Parvana raved about is even though her shows were shut down, she got her wholesale shows were shut down. She got government assistance for it. I got some too, by the way. I applied for 2 of them and got it. Then you fill out the paperwork to have it forgiven. And again, sometimes people come to the spiritual path again, seeking escape from lower vibration. And what I want you to do is embrace and allow it all. And the funny thing that happens when you do that, the less you run from this, the less you experience it. The less you make it wrong, the less you experience it. The less you try to get rid of all of it, the less you experience it. Contrast is my friend. All feelings are good. All feelings are valuable indicators. They are not wrong in any way, shape, or form. I still want to be able to get angry. I'm not trying to get rid of that. If I have a dark night of the soul and get really depressed, I know it's a higher initiation. There's nothing wrong with it. It's not even slightly wrong. I've had some big ones and I consider them gifts. Now, if I didn't, I could go into one of those tailspins like Mother Teresa had and could last for decades. You know, she had her early connection with Christ, and then when suddenly she wasn't having that anymore, she spiraled down because she was looking for something specific, like the voice of God and the voice of Christ again in these visions. And that was a stage, a temporary thing. And she never quite got that those manifestations are not necessarily meant to be permanent, that the deeper connection with God is non-physical. There's no form, there's no voice, there's no image to see, there's nothing there except an energy that is your source. Even the dark night of the soul, where you feel this great nothingness, as soon as you accept this great nothingness, you move through it, and then you have a more authentic connection with the presence, which has no form. Your big knowing to take away from this is you're here not to escape contrast. You're here not to escape all low vibration. You're here not to escape all pain, but to be able to be with everything and include it in your experience. Scott was telling a story last night about when he lived in downtown San Diego for 5 years in a second floor historic building on a noisy downtown street where people were partying all night and there was noise all night and sirens all night. And he said when he first moved there that it was exciting, but then when he'd try to go to sleep, there was so much noise. And he said when he just learned to include all that in his experience, not resist the noise, but include the noise in his experience. You know, there was a club across the street, so he just began to hear that music, and he began to hear all the other noise as music on his street. And when he did that, it's all just the music of downtown. Then he began to be able to sleep through it. With contrast, it's all just either noise to you, really annoying noise to you, or it's part of the music of this life. And you will decide what it is, and what you decide will be what it is. I remember, sometimes when we're on holiday, we're more open to these kinds of things. I remember being in Thailand once on this really romantic vacation long ago, like very long ago, 30 years ago. All carefree. And I remember noise and chaos before we got out of Bangkok, where I flew into, riding on this motorcycle, and a garbage truck went by. And I'll never forget this experience, because on holiday and in this exotic location, I remember smelling the garbage and the exhaust from this truck and thinking, oh, this is so romantic and exotic. Yeah. And in that moment, I went, wow, isn't it interesting how our perception is reality? That was reality in that moment, because I was so open to just everything around me, the whole thing, just like this soup of exotic excitement. So when we're in our everyday commute, we're rejecting all of that stuff. I only want the good things. I only want the rainbows and the puppies. I don't want the stinky stuff. I don't want the exhaust. I don't want I don't want all that. So like Scott did, you're here. Contrast is here. When you embrace all of it as part of your experience, and not only that, but look for the blessings in it, because you've decided that life conspires for you, not against you. Now, see, if you decide life conspires against you, that's your truth. If you let this terrorist, this wrong-seeking missile, decide for you, and if you decide, there's another mantra, the universe conspires to line everything up for me. But if I'm sitting there like this, rejecting everything, I won't see it. I won't notice. I'll have this tunnel vision of what should be happening. And if that's not happening, I'm going to be unhappy. But if you are tuned for the vibration of good comes of this, you'll find it. You'll find it. Have you made peace with that contrast more since yesterday? Often happens. If so, I'll ask you to pick a new contrast. So tell me, what's happened since yesterday? I'll pause. Very cool. This is better than I even expected, although I do expect things to move quickly. Some people can't even find the contrast anymore. Several of you, good number of you, cannot even find that contrast anymore. Petra's fear of flying is much smaller when she thinks about it. Johannes is in more possibilities. I love Sophia used the fear to get into peaceful movement. She used it as motivation and got things done. Now there's only excitement about what will come next. Sabina said it feels softer. The raving was contagious and kept going for Daniela. Parvana had an insight that she's getting back into that collective love of complaining. Everybody loves to do it, and it kind of can make you think you're bonding with people if you all complain together, and that's what they expect. But it's like, oh, you pay a price for that, because then you feel kind of dirty. Like, I had a friend that used to do that. When people would start complaining or saying things that were going nowhere, she'd go, and everybody would start laughing. And she didn't say, oh, stop complaining. She just went, ah, and they got the picture. Yeah. The contrast begins to fade away. Okay, Bettina, we'll deal with this. Stiffen your brain. Okay, new contrast at work, but he was okay with feeling the contrast. See, when you don't reject it and be like, they should not be doing that, I should not be having to deal with this, then it's different. It's different. Yeah. It's like, okay, hey, some contrast. Yeah. Okay. Less of that feeling of not being good enough at work, moved out of contrast quicker. Blessing of the money from the government. See, when you realize, oh my gosh, there's all this stuff that I haven't really given energy to. Great, Ludwig. Every time that guilty thought or feeling comes up, it's like, large self, what do you think about it? Large self is going, that doesn't exist. Yeah, great. Yeah, Petra needs to renew her concept of God. She's getting that. Wonderful. Okay, you know what, Petra, you could use this movement exercise to move your body to feel around for your new concept of God. That's what's feeling good to me. Because as you mature, your concept of God gets more mysterious, but stronger, but less personified, less human or limited to some human image, but it gets more powerful and harder to put into words. But fortunately, you need words less and less. So there's this evolution. First, it may be like your parents or your business partner, but it gets larger. Yeah. So you could use this movement to like move your body into that new concept of God. You might just feel it and have no words for it. And then you could continue to move, because see, the presence is experiencing itself through us in a more than 1 trillion beings and organisms. And I was watching birds fly the other day. I thought, wow, they're not conscious of it, but the presence is experiencing itself through them. We have the unique distinction, maybe not unique in the universe at all, but on this planet, we have the unique experience of that. We know that the presence is experiencing itself through us. We're conscious of it. Where the animals are just like, they're just doing it, but not conscious of it. So people think raving is all about lying to yourself sometimes. But it's not. It's about tuning toward life the way you choose to tune toward it. And of course, appreciation is really high on the instrument panel. So when you begin to rave, appreciation is up here. It's the same frequency as love. They're right side by side. And so when you start raving, appreciating, whether it's the blessings of the pandemic or anything else, when you start raving and appreciating, you are tuning your vibration up, and it moves you into your large self. That is the larger purpose of raving. And of course, you're training your mind to head that direction, that way up the instrument panel. And every time you do it, you're adding a little bit of strength to that new habit. You know, complaining is a big modern habit. And so, sure, there are times to complain. There are times to tell a company when they haven't served you or to say something. Sure. Yet, what's the percentage? You know, what's your percentage? Is it more complaining than raving? Is it appreciating? Is it more appreciating and raving than complaining? What's your ratio? Notice, witness, what's your ratio? Especially in relationships. What's your ratio in your relationships of appreciation to negative? Sometimes negative things have to be pointed out. Yeah. But what's your ratio? Yeah, it sets a tone. Fall in love with contrast, trust it more, allow it, embrace it more in a very physical way. I really strongly observe that you can't do everything in your head. You just can't. Your body contains more of your subconscious, actually, than your mind does. There's a lot held in this body that your mind cannot even crack into. Your mind can't even get there. Have you ever noticed how you can tell your body to do things and it doesn't do it? You tell your body we're going to change this habit and it doesn't do it. Or you tell your body you're not going to be afraid of flying in that airplane and your body goes, bug off. I don't believe you. Your body, in many ways, is more powerful when it comes to changing old habits and vibrations than your mind. Your mind's very, very, very powerful, and it gets more so as it goes into service of your large self. Absolutely. But earlier on, before you've really got that mastery, your body is often like, here we are, here's how I feel, here's my habit, here's where I'm going to stay. So I've learned these ways to just sort of find the cracks in that and loosen it up. And a lot of you know, one of those is with non-habitual movement. And the reason non-habitual movement is so powerful is because it breaks those habits. It pulls you out of those habits in a very tangible, physical way. Now, I don't always explain all this in silent retreats. We just do it for an hour every day for 5 days and it works. But I'm explaining a little more to you now about why it works. And a lot of people who've developed a lot of mastery with divine openings, they use non-habitual movement a lot when they're wanting to raise their vibration. They know that movement is an easier way to do it than even diving in or prostrating or a lot of those things. Or you do the movement first, then you see if there's anything left to dive into, or then you do the prostration. Because and I use contrast with non-habitual movement. After the movement is over, sound movement, then I have you lie down and do silence and stillness. Sound movement, then silence and stillness. Playing with contrast, using contrast, because you will notice that the silence and stillness goes deeper after that movement and sound and chaos. So I want you to deliberately call upon and drum up some chaos. Because think about it, your set ways, your set point of your vibration, it's set. And so it's in a habit and it's set in some areas of your life. So as we break that up, the chaos stirs everything up and then it will resettle in a new way. Nothing breaks up old habits like chaos. You know, you don't just go from an old habit to a new habit. You've got to stir it up and give it a chance to resettle in a new pattern. Let's use movement to get out of our heads and into our bodies, where really, again, the body's been carrying a lot of resistance to contrast around. So let's sort of dance our way into allowing, including, like Scott did when he lived downtown, allowing the experience, allowing the distractions, just drawing it all in this big open concept of experience, not experience I don't like and experience I do like. That's kind of the way we look at it. How can I have more experiences I like and get rid of all the experiences I don't like? Well, that's a tough road. That's kind of setting yourself out on a quest that's going to be very difficult. And you'll be focusing a lot on things you don't want. Oh, they're still here. So when you go, I'm going to include all of it, then you're in the flow. Like nature is. Nature's not worried that some trees are dying and falling over. Nature's not worried that some species are going extinct. I'm not saying it's great for the planet, but the planet's not worried about it. First of all, the energy of those species will go manifest somewhere else. If it becomes inhospitable here on Earth, it'll appear either in another form or somewhere else. It's fine. The planet is allowing all of it. See, I don't subscribe to that. Oh, the planet's getting angry. I don't think so. I think we're ascribing human emotions to the planet. It's doing what it does. And allowing us to do what we do. So, yeah, let's find a flow with contrast. What would life be without contrast? Sound, silence, light, dark. There'd be no drama, no art, no music, no anything. Music is sound and silence. Music that has no silence in it, not very good. Art that has no contrast, light and dark, light, shadow, not very interesting. Life that has no contrast would be more flat than you think in this universe. It's part of the richness. So I'll put on one of my pieces of music, better for copyright. I love this song of mine called Heaven because it's about 11 minutes long. And toward the end, it goes into, a friend of mine did this Tibetan chant, about 11 tracks of Tibetan chant. We can begin to lie down for that, experience the contrast toward the end. So when you see me lie down, that's time for you to find, either lie on the floor with a pillow or whatever you'd like to do. So at the beginning, I'd like you to experience a little of the chaos. Warm up first so you get your muscles loose. non-habitual movements, weird movements. Then after you get warmed up, I want you to get a little chaotic, because contrast can bring chaos. Embrace the chaos, be the chaos. Then later begin to ease into non-habitual movements that are in the flow of life. So warm up, chaos, flow, stillness. Warm up, chaos, flow, stillness. Heaven is right here on earth, on earth. Let every cell in your perfectly designed animal body sing to the earth and sky of the pure joy of being alive in this time, on this planet, as you. Your worthiness is a given. You can enjoy it all, knowing another wave's coming, and another, and another. Important to life as work, and dreaming is as essential as sleeping. Presence adores you.
don't you imagine it? It actually exists. Your job is just to get out of the way. Let your intentions be as light as the touch of a gnat's wing. The intelligence that orchestrates billions of galaxies in countless dimensions and everything in them can probably handle anything you need done. Don't you think?
Just enjoy the stillness. contrast.